All right, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co creator also of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And welcome to this edition of This Week in Review, in which we give you the goings on in the entertainment industry. And of course, I am not alone to talk about the news bits for this week. I'm joined once again by Spillman. Let me bring him on now. Spillman, what's good, sir?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in such a great mood and so happy to talk to you this afternoon with in light of the unfortunate events that
We're
happened.
gonna have
But
to
we're going to get
forgive
into
Spillman because he's gonna be a little quiet today. But we're gonna get into why he's a little quiet today. but
it.
but be that as it may, thank you, sir, for joining me this week as always. And let's dive in because we got some stuff to talk about, not just in sports, which as I said we will get into, but in other arenas as well, with film and with some unfortunate passings that happened this week. So let's dive in. So
Get
to
it.
start off first, this week we did get a look at a couple of films that are highly anticipated. Of course, we have The Color Purple, which is going to be a revival of the musical that we have had, and we also had a trailer of the or final trailer, if you will, of the highly anticipated The Flash. Now, Spillman, you had a chance to see both trailers, I understand.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on what you seen from both films? What are your thoughts?
I have first and foremost, when this Color Purple movie comes out, it's going to be the best day on Twitter ever. I think that it's going to be a lot of people talking very crazily to each other, saying things that reflect their own past that is going to be tremendous. So I'm really interested in that. I'm excited to see what Hallie is going to do from Chloe and Hallie, and also the Little Mermaid. You probably know her as the Little Mermaid now. Let's start calling her the Little Mermaid because that's what she's going to be known for. Um, so that'll be interesting. She's making a foray into serious film rather than the Disney stuff because Disney stuff is great, but it doesn't get you the critical acclaim that's something that a vehicle like the Color Purple will. So I feel like they're really pushing Hallie. That's going to be interesting. They also, I think they had the girl from the woman from Orange is the New Black. I can't think of the girl's name, but the girl from Orange is the New Black is going to be in this film. So I'm really interested in it. And the new Flash looks good. We all know that Batman is Michael Keaton. That's the real Batman. So any kind of Batman with Michael Keaton in it is good to me. How do you feel about it, Brent?
Okay, so here are my thoughts. When it comes to the Color Purple is such an iconic property, IP, as a lot of people
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
distinguish it as, and of course, we've had the actual musical itself, which I feel is very clever that they're doing a revival of the musical, and they're very clear that they're trying to do a revival of the musical instead of the film.
yeah.
Um,
'Cause that's
because you
horrible.
really, yeah, because you really cannot you can't replace that. Like, the performances that you have of Whoopi Goldberg, of Oprah, just as you said, and I know she's involved, with this movie musical, but still, those are such iconic performances, and I know that it was stated, this is an article out of Variety, it was stated of like the history of the run of the show as a musical. It's been successful in its own right, but man, I still would hate to try to follow that up in a cinematic capacity when there's already a well-known iconic version of this story.
Yeah,
So that those are my thoughts on that. I'm still interested to see it because I haven't had a chance to see the Broadway version. I do have a chance on occasion to check out plays on Broadway, and I hadn't had a chance to see that. And then when it comes to the Flash, I mean, I've shared it time and time again. I'm looking forward to the film. However, it's still a tricky proposition based off of all the other factors that are going on, unfortunately, outside of the film.
for
Um,
sure.
that that still makes it really a conflicted type of proposition of really being really anticipating the film, yet also understanding what what is also going on behind the scenes. And that's an unfortunate because it's one actor versus all the other ensemble characters that you have involved with Ben Affleck, with Michael Keaton, and many others. So I mean, I'll be interested to see what becomes of it. A lot of people have been raving about how great it is, and I have no doubt that it's gonna it should be a solid film. The jury's still out until I see it. A lot of people like to rave, and it's very easy, to hear other people comment on a film when, A, they're involved in it, or B, you know, I feel like sometimes maybe the reactions that certain people have had and have been made public about the film in terms of their response to it have and sometimes get exaggerated. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm anticipating both films, but there are some elements in both cases. One with doing an iconic story, even though it is technically slightly different since you're reviving the musical and not necessarily how it was adapted with in the film version previously. And then the same goes with, as I said, the superhero movie The Flash and all the other things, unfortunately, that are happening behind the scenes that are can it will might unfortunately detract from the work that many other artists have brought to the film. So we'll see. We'll see. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just think that again, the color purple, like you said, is an iconic property. It'll be good to put forward black female leads. We don't have too many movies with those. I don't know who's playing Mister, but he's got to nail Mister because Mister is a super villain in that movie, and it's just got to be.
It's the cat. It's the cat from Fear the Walking Dead. I'm brain farting his name right now. Jeez, the
The
gentleman.
guy, the
Yeah,
guy that
I
was
don't know if you
on
watch Fear the Walking
Snatch.
Dead.
The dude that was on no. Fear. I'm thinking of Walking Dead, not Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because the guy that was on Snatch is on Walking Dead. He's not on Fear the Walking
Yeah,
Dead.
he's kind of like the what's the word? He's not the criminal, but he's kind of the brain fart on the term, the picture for
Yeah,
right now. But yeah, no, like it's yeah, I will pull up the name
we'll,
like I
we'll
said.
we'll pull it
Visual
back up.
right now,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, we'll pull it back up, fans. But still,
But
it's
I think
crazy.
I'll have enough time to pull it up based off of what
Okay.
we'll get into next.
Oh
So
no, we don't. We can keep talking about this,
oh
man. We can keep
no.
talking
We can
about
we can
this.
switch gears. I will pull up the name there, but uh, if anyone has been following sports, you guys know
Oh,
that right now we are in the midst of the NBA postseason, if you will. And if you've been following the show the last couple of weeks, you know you've been privy to our perspectives, our respective perspectives, Spill and I on our teams. Uh, I understand that maybe both of our teams are on vacation now. Is that right, Spills? Do we
yeah,
have
my team's on vacation, but it's baseball season. I've been to baseball games. I'm watching Juan Soto. He's doing good. The Nationals have. They look like they might have a bullpen this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can talk about baseball. It's the dog days of summer coming up. I'm just really excited for baseball. It's a great time of year. It's the national pastime. I like to take my son to games. He enjoys it.
right?
Yeah, but anyway, let's talk about the Lakers.
Yes, yes.
I do have to
So,
say,
so if you guys are not privy to what I mean, if you guys know me, you know that my team is the Warriors. Didn't
yeah,
have the season that we anticipated we would have.
they lost to us. That's right. They lost to the Lakers. That's right. And
Similarly, another
we
gentleman
lost to the
here
Nuggets.
also is a fan of a team that is no longer in the postseason, and that would be the Lakers, who got swept
We
four
did get
games to
swept.
zero by the Denver Nuggets. Any thoughts, sir, on what transpired there in the Western Conference Finals, sir?
I figured we were in trouble when the guy who was supposed to be our best defender was not good enough to defend their best player. We had to get a guy that was a foot shorter than him to defend him.
Mm.
And when Anthony was guarding Joker, we were down by 20 points every single point of those games. So we had no chance. And then we found out LeBron had a torn ligament in his foot, which we all figured he was pretty banged up because that's the first time he's looked like a human being in our lives. I've never seen him look like a human being like that. So it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. My team actually made the conference finals, so it's okay. The only thing that really hurts about this is the Celtics somehow decided to turn this around and act like they're playing a 8 seed. So that is disturbing to me because the Celtics are the Celtics and they're going to look around and win this finals, I think. But I don't think that they can beat the Nuggets, but I'm just frustrated with it.
So here's my thoughts. All jokes aside, of the sweep, if you will. The Nuggets, not only are they deep, which is not a luxury that a lot of the teams this postseason that are no longer in it had as a luxury, but they have size too. So I mean,
that's what it is.
And I'll be objective. Like the Warriors didn't have size, and they were able to make it work last year of playing small ball and being smaller. But you can't deny that not only do you have a team that's deep, you have a team that's big, you have a team that's versatile. So like you have players that you have guards that are big guards. You have wings that are big wings. Like they're not like a small team. And they're
athletic. Only is 7 feet tall.
Athletic. It's not like they're slow. They're athletic.
Yeah.
So that's a dangerous combination to bring all of those elements into play into a team. So I don't know. Like unless we have some team, whether it's the Celtics, whether it's the Heat, because at one time last week I was saying that it was a Heat, but I don't know. It feels like the Celtics have turned on that Super Saiyan mode or something.
I don't know. Yeah, that house money. They stopped playing with the house money.
It's like it's like those sagas that we have in Dragon Ball Z, where they get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled, and then they just like how they had a little animation with the little flat line. He just he snap out of it. Yeah, they just snap out of it. I'm thinking of like Gohan, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. But anyway, who knows whether it's either one of those teams, but whoever it is,
they losing to the
Nuggets.
Yeah, for sure.
Right now, I can't see a team taking down the Nuggets in 4 games.
No.
I don't know about you.
No, so, I can't either.
We have some other tidbits here, as you can see down below, outside of the playoffs. So we have, what's going on in the Eastern Conference, of thinking that it was going to be a sweep, and now we actually have a series. The Nuggets are waiting in the wings of whoever they're going to take on for the finals. And then, of course, we had some other news, which you see down below. We had Carmelo Anthony announcing his retirement, as well as Steve Nash potentially coaching, the Raptors. He went in with the to potentially discuss about being the Raptors coach. So what are your thoughts on those news bits?
Okay, I have a few thoughts. I think that Steve Nash being the Raptors coach is interesting. Steve is one of the most if not the most famous Canadian basketball players ever. People forget that he's from Canada because he played college ball here in America, but he's a Canadian baller. When they used to have the international team versus the U.S. team, he's always on international team because he's a Canadian guy. I think that would be a good fit for them. Ironically, I'm breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Woj ball that I'm stealing off the internet. According to ESPN sources, the Bucks are hiring the assistant coach from the Raptors, so Adrian Griffin, which is a black head coach, ladies and gentlemen. We got a black head coach that's getting hired in Milwaukee. That's going to be great. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, Giannis is not too hurt because he didn't look like himself this year, but hopefully that works for him. So that's great news. But on to Carmelo. Carmelo, I think, is one of the most underrated stars of all time. He's up there with like a lot of people. He's up there with a lot of people.
Let me just say a good dude too, because I've had a chance to. I've been fortunate enough to interview him.
Oh yeah.
Once, and like, I real chill, real down to
Oh
earth.
yeah.
Like, and
Oh
don't
yeah.
get me wrong, there are a lot of I'll share some stories, y'all. If y'all ever want to know, but like, yeah, I mean, I've had those stories of like you picture, someone is chill, and they would be a good person to interview, and they're like horrible, and then you have some folks who
Hmm.
not anticipating, they're like awesome. So yeah, sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. I have a question for you on this Carmelo line. Would you say that if he got drafted by the Pistons instead of the Nuggets, that he and LeBron would have been more of a rivals than they ended up being? Because in Denver, he's never actually had a championship shot or a consistent good team. But if he'd gone to the Pistons at that time, what do you think would have happened?
So okay. There are a lot of interesting what ifs when it comes to Carmelo, because we have that part of it, right? Which I feel
Hmm.
like it would have extended the Pistons with the dynasty that they had even further
For
than what
sure.
it was. And could have, we would be having a different conversation of, that era Pistons that were there and him coming up, with that team at that time. Talk about super team, right? Like that would have been
That would
ridiculous.
have been a super team.
So, you have that, but you also have the other what if of like the Miami Heat, right? Like if you had Dwayne Wade, which was initially what it was supposed to be, no shade to, Chris Bosh. It was supposed to be what is it, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony, and it didn't come to be. So like, that's another what if of like how that team could have turned out. But I feel like things happen for a reason, because like,
I
in
don't think they could have
hindsight,
won much if
that's what I'm
he'd have went to the
saying.
Heat.
Thinking in hindsight, while on paper it seems awesome, as terrific and as undeniably talented that Carmelo Anthony was offensively, the same couldn't be said, with him defensively.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, it's not to say that he wasn't capable of playing defense. He was. It just didn't seem to always, when he was playing, to be his priority. It was just to score, which is fine.
Hmm.
So, considering that and considering what Bosch was able to do, I feel like things happen for a reason. And in retrospect, he still would have been, still is a better fit, I feel, than Carmelo would have been, because
100%.
if I'm thinking of kind of like the personality dynamic of a team, I have no doubt that all three of them, get along off the court. But at the same time, I don't feel that Carmelo would be fine being a second or third fiddle to anybody on a
Hmm.
super team.
Hmm.
And we've seen that, happen when in the tail end of his career, when he was playing, with the Lakers and playing with other teams too. I want to say, was it the Portland Trailblazers? I want to say,
Portland and OKC, because
yeah.
I think they sent him home from both OKC and Portland. So
So
he,
I can't picture that he would be someone who would be willing to make that sacrifice. And Chris
hmm
Bosh was able to do that, before he hopped into the Miami Heat. He was the guy. He was the primary option, and he had to take a back seat to LeBron and to Wade in order to make that trio work. And
yeah,
because of that, I feel like it was successful because he was willing to make that sacrifice, where I'm not sure if Carmelo would have.
for
So,
sure.
and speaking with Steve Nash, I'll be honest, and it's no slight against Steve Nash. Like Steve Nash is, he was a terrific player, 2-time MVP. Um, it's just interesting to see how, and I don't know if it's just uh the relationships that are there, that you've established, or just a great folks that have, whatever great folks that you have in your corner that are able to speak of to what you're capable of doing. But I still feel like, again, no slight against Steve Nash, terrific player. I still feel like he would benefit from you know, coaching a lot more where he is not the head coach. So, whether it's working, as the assistant coach with a team, I feel like he could still benefit from having, that extra time to continue to develop as a coach. Because I feel like he's capable of being a great coach. But from what we saw with the Nets,
He can't
there's
manage the
so much.
personalities.
Exactly. There's many dynamics that come to being a basketball coach. It's not just having a good basketball mind. Like, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
that's great. Of being able to talk basketball and be able to break things down. But you also have to kind of be I hate to say, a psychiatrist,
No, you have to be.
a parent, like you have to, for a parent for, like, a lot of your younger players. And don't get me wrong, all players, talking about grown folks here, but at the same time, you're dealing, just like you said, you're dealing with personalities where personalities conflicting because of playing time, because of how many shots they're getting in the offense, of what their role is on the team, and being able to speak to each player, because every player, is different, how they take, coaching, what coaching style works for each player is going to be different. Not all players are not made, all are the same in terms of how they accept, you know, uh, uh, um,
Criticism.
criticism from their coach. So I feel like, in observing maybe another coach, I'm picturing Popovich. I'm picturing, some of the other, major figures that we have that are terrific coaches. It would benefit him to be able to observe that while still developing as a coach. Because, as I said, I feel like he has a terrific basketball mind, but when it comes to the relationships part, and what we've seen of how the Nets turned out, it's still something that he still seems to, struggle with.
Yeah.
Being able to put his foot down of, okay, this is what we need to do when you have those strong personalities in the locker room. So
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I agree with you. I think I worry about it because, even though Steve Nash was a two-time MVP and those teams were run by him, their voice wasn't his voice on those teams. It wasn't like it was D'Antoni's offense. It was Amari. It was like the other guys get up and go, but it wasn't like you look at even the Bucks a couple of years ago, even your Warriors, the Lakers that I like, the personality of the lead guy is what they do. They do what he does, and like I like the run around offense and stuff, but it's never really felt like when Steve Nash was there, it's his personality that overcomes things, and he's also had a lot of locker room issues with people that we don't really talk about, but he's had those issues. Like he had the issue with Jason Richardson. That was a real controversial one that we won't really mention, but you can Google it, fans. We're not going to really go into it, but it was some real controversial stuff with that. So I just think that Steve is a great guy, but as far as being a coach, like I think he's probably going to get the job because it's Canada, and that's the only team for Canada, and he's such a famous Canadian basketball player. And sometimes just like players later in their careers go back to their hometown and find a job there, even though they shouldn't be in the league anymore. But it's the hometown. You'll bring in ticket sales at least, and that people do care about stuff like that. But I don't think that he's really that great of a coach to manage the personalities because the time in Brooklyn was just unmitigated gold. It was
that's
just
why I
like,
say I feel like it would really benefit him of continuing to develop, so that way he can observe some
yeah,
and develop some tools to be able to deal with that. Because I feel like once he's able to master that, he would be a terrific coach. It's just that he
Yeah.
still needs that part of it to be able to be an effective head coach. So, like I said, he even if it means like if we're picturing that he is working as an assistant coach with another team and
Hmm.
is specifically handling, the offense, like
Yeah.
overseeing the offense for that team. Like I feel like he would really thrive in that role while he's still continuing to develop, all the other components or attributes, intangibles, whatever you want to call it, that I feel would really fill out, the skill set that would make him a very successful coach. That's all I'm saying. So
I agree.
oh, and just as an update, guys, I know, like I said, I already actually had the answer, but I know we got into some of the other news stories and we really dug in with the NBA stuff. But Coleman Domingo was the gentleman that is playing Mister in
All right,
the
there we go.
mentioning,
There
who
we
was
go.
in Fear the Walking Dead. So but anyway, I digress. Speaking of film, I know we were just talking about movie trailers or what have you. We did have some news drop this week, and one of it is like obvious, like duh, but the other one is interesting considering what we have going on with the writer strike, that component of it with this film starting production. So movie news wise, and talking about John Wick 5 being in development again, duh. All I'm hearing is ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Lionsgate, talking about that they are in fact developing John Wick 5, despite what we know happened in John Wick 4. But we've had this discussion. We've had this discussion. I can already see the poster. I can see I can see the tombstone with John Wick on it, and that's going to be their teaser post. That's going to be their teaser poster. Mark my words. Yeah, mark my words. I'm going to bring back this clip. This is going to be exactly what I'm talking about because I mean it's a no-brainer of what he could do with that. Promotional wise of reintroducing someone who's thought to be gone. Sorry, spoiler alert. He's gone. But guys. It came out in March. So anyway, other than that, also the news of Deadpool 3 going into production this week. It was posted over IG by one of his actors, by actor who plays Colossus, Stefan Kapikic. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, man. But yes, he posted over this week, and I'll pull it back up and make sure I don't butcher your name, man. But posted this week that they are starting production. However, the caveat of it is with the writer strike happening, which is, quite fascinating considering the film that we're talking about with Deadpool, is that they are going to need to, the actors will need to perform the script word for word. They're not able to improv um, any of the words in the script in order to be able to continue, the production. So, what are your thoughts with both of these tidbits? One of it, like I said, which is pretty obvious, but the other one, in terms of a production that is synonymous, with all the comedy that is involved in the film, is synonymous with the actor's abilities to be able to improv. And then a lot of the great bits that we have is because of the improvisation that happens. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'll start with the John Wick. I'm really interested in John Wick 5 because I like seeing people kick people in the face and shoot them with guns. It's a great time. I love to see people get shot with guns in new and inventive ways. So, this is America. We like to see people get shot. So I'm excited for it. Obviously the writer strike may affect some of these things. I remember last time we had a writer strike, a lot of the TV shows that we like were terrible after that, or were canceled very quickly after. I'm looking at you, heroes. I'm looking at you, heroes. You had a great show, Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. Then the writer strike happened, and it was a bunch of gobbledygook. So, I really hope that things work out. I hope that they pay these people because without the writers, you have no story. So, we can't act without the writers. So I'm excited about that. But, with the Deadpool 3, that's interesting. I did also, we've got different tidbits. We are reading different source materials, ladies and gentlemen. I follow Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, famous comic book artist and creator, and he said that this was actually going to be a Wolverine heavy movie. So
Which
I'm excited.
I have no
I
problem.
am excited with that. I want to see Sheets in a Marvel MCU movie because he did also confirm that this was an MCU movie. He confirmed it was an MCU movie and not just a Sony standalone
Of course,
movie.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
so that's big news. That's the biggest news. So they've been saying mutant, and they've been hinting at it everywhere. You know how they do it. I'm gonna hint at it. So that's been great. I'm really excited for it. So we'll see how the Deadpool turns out. We can't have too much hope as far as the story is concerned if the writers are not going to be there because what you put on paper and what you actually do once you get to the movie set are two different stories oftentimes, and it helps to have writers on staff to do those things because if you do rewrite, sometimes we hear rewrite is like a four-letter word almost, but sometimes the rewrites will save a movie. So it's unfortunate that they are not able to participate, but I think it's going to be an okay movie. So I'm excited for it. And how do you feel about it?
So I'm not going to spend too much time on the John Wick thing. Like I said, it's pretty obvious as to why it makes sense that they, have that going. I mean, we have the ballerina, film that is within the universe of John Wick that we have. We have the TV show regarding the Continental that's coming. So, it makes sense. And I mean, the last John Wick film did really well. So, I mean, it's demonstrating to Lionsgate that yes, bring do more John Wick. Uh, the thing that's interesting is that it has been they've written themselves into a hole based off of what's transpired with their title character. So I'll be
Mm-hmm.
interested to see. I guess in a way they haven't written themselves in a corner because we didn't really see a body. So like there's that, but I don't know. It's just it takes away the impact I feel when, and this is whether it's action movies, uh, whether it's superhero movies, and I know that it comes with the territory when we're talking about those types of movies, but it takes away the impact of what was sacrificed by those characters when we bring them back. So there's that. And then when it comes to Deadpool 3, while it's exciting to know that the MCU is continuing to move forward, the fact that it's in production, tells us that it is a reality that is happening. So often we hear about movies that, oh, it's delayed by 3 months. Oh, it's delayed by 6 months. Oh, it's delayed by
Yeah.
a year. If it finally is solidifying it for us that it is happening. So there's that's awesome. But so much of what makes that franchise what it
There's the writers.
is not just the writers. It's the writing that we have in there, but it's that kind of their cohesion between the writers and the actors of being able to kind of riff off of each other to come up with different ideas on things. And if we're having that component and that they're not able to like improv anything, and I completely understand why, because the strike is such an important thing in terms of what the goal of it is. So I'm not trying to say that that is very important in terms of what writers are striving for. It's just that I'm hoping that we're able to come that a solution is able to be reached, and that the writers are able to they're able to get provided with compensation, that they're
Mm-hmm.
seeking, because they are such a pivotal part of the creative process. Whether we're talking about television, whether we're talking about film, and especially with this film, so much of what makes this film great outside of what we have with the actors, as you said, is the writing. So it's fascinating, to know that the film is continuing on. Um, when we've seen, other cases where other things have been shut down, that is
Mhm.
continuing on. But at the same time, that, we're still, in a way, there is a casualty, at work here, whether we want to believe it, figuratively or not. And that's the fact that, we don't have that same synergy that has been happening with the other, Deadpool films. That's apparently going down with this installment, with, that tidbit that's happening with the writing. So uh shouts out to the writers. Hopefully the strike can, come to an end, and that, a resolution can be reached, and that writers can be compensated accordingly to, what they deserve, so that way, we're able to move forward with writers that are happy with, what they're earning for a living, and being able to also continue to provide, the awesome work that they do with a lot of these properties that we love and enjoy. So
Most definitely. But still, say it'll be interesting to see what happens with it because we've seen these writer strike projects before and they were subpar. The last time there was the rise of reality TV, which is writerless essentially. So we'll see.
for sure, for sure. And then to close off, guys, unfortunately, we did have some unfortunate news with a couple of passings that happened this week, and that's surrounding not only Ray Stevenson, actor Ray Stevenson, passing at 58, Bill Lee, who we know as, the father of Spike Lee, passing at 94, and of course Tina Turner, passing at 83. Ray Stevenson, currently, there hasn't been any news regarding, the specifics of that passing. Same goes with with Bill Lee. However, with Tina Turner, they were saying that it was due to natural causes. So your thoughts, as I said, Ray Stevenson, many people know from, from Rome, from the Thor franchise, from Dexter. I was mentioning to you before of the
Hmm.
in that show. And then Bill Lee, of course, as a musician, the work that he's done, the folks that, he has collaborated with, the the uh the collaborations that he's had with his son, providing
Crazy.
for a lot of his films. And then of course Tina Turner. Of course Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? Even with film too. People don't talk about that either. And then
Two enter,
say
one leaves.
indeed, indeed. So share your thoughts. What are your thoughts on, the passings that we had this week?
Anytime that someone passes, we want to put our hands up and pray for them. We are, sad for their families and their friends for their losses. But, Ray Stevenson was a great actor. I think, we liked a lot of his projects. He was good in that show, Rome. He was good as one of the characters in the MCU. I'm
Voice.
sure.
Uh-huh.
We were, yeah, exactly. And I'm sure we were hoping that he did more, but sadly, he's no longer with us. Bill Lee, famous. It's funny because, time is a certain kind of a thing. And, you don't know how famous people's parents are or what people's parents did before they had them. So we more associate ourselves with Spike Lee because we are the Spike Lee generation. We've had so many Spike Lee movies. But you can think the Spike Lee movies wouldn't have been like they were if they didn't sound like they did. I think that his father had a big part in making sure that he understood how important sound was. He always uses jazz in his movies to score things, to play on emotion. on top of contemporary music, because he always uses contemporary music, but he's always used jazz. He's always used big classic show tunes and stuff, to set the mood in his movies and stuff. So that's been interesting. And of course, Tina Turner. You know, what can't you say? They say she's the queen of rock and roll. They don't say that about any white women, which is crazy when you think about it. They haven't said that about Joan Jett. They haven't said it about Debbie Harry, Janis Joplin. None of the women that are famous. The Stevie Nicks. They don't say that about any of them. They say Tina Turner is the queen of rock and roll because she is. And it's just sad to see her go. She had a great movie career. Like I said, uh, she's in the Mad Max movie that everyone knows is Mad Max. She wasn't in the first one because the first one was the Road Warrior. She's in Mad Max. So, any Mad Max property you watch, really, she's the one that really was in the one that was big. The Terror Dome, anytime. Hey, the Tupac video, that Tupac, the California Love video, that's based on Tina Turner. So, the influence is just so immersed, and just the breadth of her career and her influence is just so big. It's just so sad to see her go. How do you feel about it, Brandon?
I mean,
So, yeah. So, just to reiterate, the Tina Turner is just, she was a great, great musician. She had two musical lives. Most people don't have two musical lives. When something happens, like you lose your main collaborator because of creative differences. Brandon, are you back with us? Okay, he's still not back. But you lose because of creative differences and everything. Okay, it sounds like
yeah,
Brandon's back.
apologies,
Go ahead and
guys.
finish your thought.
Froze a little bit there for a
Yeah.
second, but no, I heard you still.
Okay, cool.
For First, let me start with Ray Stevenson. Huge fan of the HBO series Rome, and they had such a talented cast, of which he was, a big part of it. He brought a lot of levity in terms of his character on that show, but he still brought a lot of gravitas to that character as well, which is not an easy feat to do. It's not an easy thing to be able to seamlessly, when you're doing a character, go back and forth between the dramatic elements of that character and the funny or comedic elements of that character. And he was able to do it really well. Other characters that he's played, being a part of the Warriors 3, as you said, still being able to shine among, that trio, and still being able to provide his own energy and own vibe to that character. A lot of times when you're in an ensemble, while it still behooves you to be able to, be a team player, as a member of that cast squad, so to speak. It's still, again, not an easy feat to be able to still shine among an ensemble too, and he was still able to do that while not um, you know pulling away from your title character. um, and in Dexter, being able to, which is, it's really saying something. We've had a lot of characters that have been psychological foils and challenges for Dexter.
Hmm.
He was one of, because he's not a small guy, he's a big dude. Like, he was one of the few villains over the course of the run of Dexter, and I'm not talking about the mini series that came after, but the original run. That he was a physical force and a physical foil for Dexter, because he had never encountered someone who could take him on, and probably take him down physically, versus, you know, just being able to be as, you know, crazy or psychological or as devious or as, and it's not to say that the character wasn't smart. He was that too. So if anything, you know, if we're talking about like what comparisons like comic book wise, where we talk about a lot of like rogues gallery characters, especially if we're picturing like, you know, Dexter and comparing him with like Batman, for example.
Mm-hmm.
His character was Dexter's Bane. So he
Mm-hmm.
could match him not only psychologically, but he could also match him physically, which was something that was new that he had never encountered before, you know, over the run of Dexter. And he was one of the few, which made that character so unique, is that he could physically go toe to toe, if not more so, in Dexter than any other villain that he had encountered over the course of the series. And that's saying something.
Yeah.
So, you know, even aside from that, in talking about Dexter, you know, he was an actor who not only was able to play heroes, because, you know, I didn't even get into Punisher, but he was also able to play despicable, like, villains. Like, I mean, he was a villain of sorts in Dexter, if people have seen, you know, his character in the series, but he was absolutely despicable in RRR. If anyone had a chance to, you know, see that film, like to the point that you were like you were cheering when he finally got his comeuppance, and
Yeah.
so that you know you're being effective as a villain when like people hate your guts. So
For sure.
and he did it so well. So rest in peace, you know, to him, you know, crazy passing away at 58, you know, in the day and age that we are in now with the, you know, the medicine that we have available to us this day and age, that's a young age to pass away at. And then moving on to Bill Lee, of, you know, trailblazer that he was in music, and, you know, the role that he had in as I said, in collaborating with his son Spike, and it's crazy. I know you were talking about it a little bit offline, and I even think about this. You know, we had this whole conversation about nepotism, right? And the crazy thing is that Spike Lee has paved a way, you know, paved a trail all his own, with his career. And who knows, maybe before all of that, you know, transpired, when he was just stepping out, you know, stepping out to be a filmmaker, that might have been something that, you know, that he was wary of, because, you know, his dad was quite accomplished, you know, before he you know got going. So um so rest in peace to Bill Lee, passing at 94, full life, you know,
Yeah.
but still, you know, unfortunate to have him gone. And then again, what can you say about Tina Turner? She has been a, you know, also speaking about a trailblazer of the inspiration that she's provided to many artists, and you can say there are a large generation of artists that we probably would not have today if they were not inspired by Tina
100%.
Turner, and her influence. So many pop stars that we have, many, you know, many musical artists that we have that, you know, love, idolize, you know, Tina Turner and what she's done, you know, just as you were mentioning, you know, on film, but also with music. I know people were talking about What's Love Got to Do with It as being, you know, one of those iconic songs. I would also argue people sleep on this, but you know, if we're talking about like iconic or you know, enjoyable 007 singles, GoldenEye, she did GoldenEye. You know, hey, that's on my playlist. That's on my
It
playlist.
takes two.
Takes Two. Hey, endless,
Proud Mary. And then the stuff that she did with
endless,
Ike, even though we don't want to
endless. We
talk
would be
about
here
the
all
stuff she
day.
did with Ike, classic.
We
Classic.
would be here all day.
Like,
Um,
Proud Mary is her song. It's not Cleveland's Clearwater Revival. Like, Cleveland's Clearwater Revival, they wrote the song and stuff, but that's her song, bro. Like,
yeah, 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 for sure, sure.
so, yeah.
Um, but rest in peace to all three, to Ray Stevenson, to Bill Lee, to Tina Turner. Bummer to be able to close the show of these unfortunate passings, but I still wanted to be able to acknowledge their work and their influence that they've had on the industry, and the fact that they'll be missed of a lot of the characters and the creative work that they have provided to us. So any last thoughts before we wrap it up here, and I punt the baton over to you, or punt the ball over to you to give your socials, your drops, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to say again, ladies and gentlemen, that LeBron James did have a tear in his foot. His foot had a tear in it. He didn't look like himself, but he still was averaging 30 points, 11 assists, and like 9 or 10
You know what I'm hearing
rebounds.
right now? I'm hearing a translation of "see what had happened was." See what had happened was. Here's my thing. Now, I get all of that, but if that were the case, then stay out of it. So that way, no one. If you really are that hurt, then
He ain't look right, man. He ain't look right. We all saw it. He look old. That's the first time we ever said, "Hey, LeBron's looking a step slower today."
what had happened
What
was.
happened? That's fine, ladies and gentlemen. You know what it is. My team made the conference finals. That's all that matters. His team lost to my team. That's all that matters. Y'all lost to us. So, you can talk bad about us.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. We
That's
did,
all I got,
we
ladies
did,
and gentlemen.
we
But,
did. But I'll put it
check
on.
me out on Instagram, Truly Spill. You can see me there. Shoot me a line. I will not buy anything to turn $100 into $10,000, because I know that's a scam, ladies and gentlemen. So stop trying to get me with your scams. I don't want to be involved in that. But anything else you would like to share, silly anecdotes, I'd love to hear them. So look for me there, and we'll see you next week. We'll talk about baseball then, because it's baseball season, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to talk about NBA finals. It's not something I care about at all. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. We're gonna be talking a little bit more about some Lakers. I'm gonna milk it a little bit more, y'all, about the Lakers being swept. I mean, at least we won some games, y'all. We ain't
Y'all
get
won some games in a different round of the playoffs. You were in the finals. You can't talk bad about somebody
That's
who
all I
made
gotta
the
say.
finals. Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Not even a gentleman's sweep. Not even a gentleman's
Oh.
sweep. Just got swept. Okay, all right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm stop messing with you, Spill. All right, but you can find me on Twitter, as you can see down below, at Brandon Troy ENT. Also on Instagram, Brandon Troy _ENT. And there are some cool things that are on the way with upcoming shows. I think I feel like I posted it last week, but just if you need the reminder, just know that I will be at AwesomeCon for the first day. Once again, doing the cheesy line reading contest, which is a lot of fun. So, if you consider yourself an actor, and, or even if you, are not an actor, but you enjoy, those awesomely bad movies with super corny lines, and, are cool with, performing in front of people, because we will have prizes for those who perform at the best. Make sure you come out, or if you just want to observe, the acting choices that people make in performing those lines, feel free to also, be a spectator as well. So that's happening on Friday at 9 o'clock. Head over to IG. I'll have it, over there with the room. I want to say it's room 202. But again, I have it over on IG, so check it out over there. Happening on day one, and then there might be some other news, so stay tuned of some more moderating awesomeness happening. So stay tuned for that. But again, I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and
5 stars. 5 stars, ladies and gentlemen. 5 stars.